go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Come on, man.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go, come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico, it's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and zero sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Paulie Massimino wins the Wisconsin Grand Prix! James Overbeck on start number 2 gets win number 1 in OKN Stars!
On track or off, Brandon Jarsekrak Racing delivers elite performance. Led by 4-time Pro National Champion Brandon Jarsekrak, our team masters driver coaching, data-driven analysis, and mechanical precision at every national event. Contact us today at BrandonJarsekrakracing.com.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like 20 bucks a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like 50 bucks a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
back.
so in love with you. You got me down again.
drivers. The cadet class presented by the Lawson Speed Shop out on the racetrack now as we follow along with the number 1 of Reagan Hodges, who is running out there on her own. And again, qualifying here, one thing to note, Justin, drivers are sent out on the racetrack, but they are split up. So for those of you at home watching along, that is one thing to notice. And again, when you talk about drafting at Newcastle Motorsports Park, those are things to kind of keep an eye on. But your first CKNA event, and as well your first Grand Nationals, walking into the paddock this weekend, this place is jam-packed from fence line to fence line. Tell me about it, Justin.
Yeah, it's all sorts of people coming in for this event, to say the very least. Whenever you walk through, it's aisle after aisle of various different teams. A lot of independent organizations here too, in particular, where you have those one family organizations just trying to make sure they go well racing here today. And for many of these people involved, you have to remember, they're amongst some of the many that run in some of our various series we cover throughout the year, not just in the CKN events, but some of the travel events, some of the regional events like IKC, like MCC's competitions. So for some, this has been described almost like the Super Bowl of the karting world for some of these drivers that are looking to gain experience and be able to run at the national level and prove they can run against some of the best in this type of competition, 206 engines.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it here. Again, this is a Super Bowl for 206, right? You hit it right on the head there, and on what this event means to a lot of people that are here this weekend. So again, I'm excited to see the racing action as we are still going with our qualifying session. 22 drivers on the track now here. Luke Bullpit, currently the fastest. Reagan Hodges in second. And again, this qualifying session for the majority, senior medium being the group that's going to be split into 3, but cadet going to be that group that's split in 2. So this is the bottom half of your cadet drivers that are out on the track. So, and again, they're trying to put in a good lap time to slot themselves within a good starting spot for the heat races later on today. The first one actually going to start for them at the end of their run order. So that'll be something to keep an eye on here as well as we continue on through the day. But again, senior medium going to be in this morning session here today. They're going to be split into 3 with your kid karts, your masters field, and your sportsman. As checkered flag hits the air, Reagan Hodges still fastest. We saw the young lady in the number 1 work her way around. She's out of Carmel, Indiana, and that could have changed. Luke Bullpit in the 87 goes up to second with Brent Mendoza up to third. Ethan Smith, Kai Schipper, Kuiper Nelson, Blaine Donovan, Jackson McNeely, Koa Dozet, and Diesel Maxwell, your top 10 here in the bottom half. And again, 22 drivers, or 23, I should say, in this bottom half of the group. We're still expecting to see that fast group here come out in a couple of moments, Justin.
Yeah, 45 drivers is a lot of karts, to say the very least, in a class. And remember, some of the classes this weekend had 106 in fact for senior medium later on in the weekend. So there is going to be a lot of traffic for these races in general, you'd have to say. It's just a matter of, you want to be up at the front. You want to put yourself in a good position for your respective group. You don't want to be put on the back foot as a result of not a good qualifying session, because it's such a massive field where it's going to be difficult to cut your way through all these drivers.
Yeah. No, and even then, right, in the qualifying, it's based off of where you ended up in the happy hour session, so then you get lined up for qualifying, right? Yeah. And then even in qualifying, you get sent out with a good amount of space in between yourself and another driver, and per Cup Karts North America rules, you're also not allowed to push anybody. So you can't make contact. Your front bumper can't make contact with the driver in front of you's rear bumper, and that's one of the biggest things to note for all these drivers, and for those of you at home as well watching along. For me, that was the biggest thing as well whenever I was a part of this event back in 2023. You know, everywhere you go, right, you talk about TSRS, Route 66, all series that we've been to at the club level, like you said, IKC, MCC, everything that we've been to, that's the norm, right, to go out there and do. But here at CKNA, off limits. You can't touch anybody out there in the qualifying session, so that's one of the biggest things. You need to time that draft perfectly, where you're not making contact with anybody else on those straightaways. And again, you're not holding yourself up. You're not tripping yourself up either throughout these corners. So you'll see, with 4 laps at hand for the majority of these drivers, put themselves within a better position, or, you know, burn a lap, burn 2 laps maybe, set in those 2 good laps as well. So everything to note here, right, when you talk about it. And then again, you talk about the history of this place, right? Newcastle Motorsports Park, the Grand Nationals have come to this place every single year, and every year it's been scaling higher and higher, and it's been getting better and better. And one kid that knows a lot about Newcastle Motorsports Park is J. Howard Driver Development's Hudson Howard, who again, we saw him make his debut here at CKNA last year at the Grand Nationals. A 49 returns in the cadet class, getting ready to have a good showing. And again, him and his dad, Jay, hit out of their garage as the 1 minute signal hits the air, and all the Briggs and Stratton 206 engines come to life as we look down the rest of the field as well. One of the Heckman brothers racing machine on the VLR. There's the 222. Dusty Strayer out of Texas, the number 12. Gets ready to join us here on the racetrack. Saw him race just last weekend in New Orleans with a good result. Liam Francisco with us here as well in the 17, a driver that we've seen a lot throughout the national circuit this year, Justin. And again, he joins us for another go at it here in this one. And I believe that's Tristan Francisco, actually. So Liam is out here this weekend. Tristan, his brother, Canadian national champion, must be mentioned, with us here on the 206 class as well. As your usual suspects, if you will, here at CKNA, Spencer Height in the 31, and many, many more in the second group, 20 plus, getting ready to go out and set up some fast lap times. But here we go. We're getting ready to go green, and you see it again, right? Staggered qualifying order, giving those drivers enough space, enough time to find their footing out on the racetrack. As we get going, we're going to have our first pole sitter with the RLV fast lap qualifying session here as the rest of the field hits the racetrack, Justin.
Yes, and all of them get sorted them out on the racetrack, and this is going to be, again, very competitive. You would have to expect a much your field for the qualifiers, just with the amount of talent we have here, just to see who's going to get the edge. You mentioned Hudson Howard, for example, we're following along with on the racetrack. Came away third last year at the grand final, for example. Has also been extremely competitive across the nation in general here. He'll lead things off the green flag, and it's an opportunity here for him to be able to build off momentum from last year and keep up what's been some strong driving in cadet class for that whole entire organization. And one of the major things going to be something to keep an eye on is setting the tone for your respective team here too, Caleb, to make sure you at least get all your drivers in a good spot where you can work together during the races this weekend. Yeah, and again, they've run that national operation throughout the year, and then again this weekend, they're just local, so they're just pitted out of their garage. It's just a two-man operation with Hudson and Dad Jay on the wrenches for him this weekend, so we'll keep an eye on them. They're actually pitted down by the Champions Club here at Newcastle Motorsports Park. But that being said, time to beat right now is the one of the number one of Reagan Hodges. She was able to set a lap time of 1:16.076. And then again, just keep an eye on that. Hudson, the first one out. So he was the fastest at the end of the happy hour session, with more drivers right behind him. Luke Bullpit, as well as the driver that's in second right now. And again, he was in that bottom half group as we work our way through. And this is a good chance for us to take a look at the layout as well. You have a very fast section that we're coming up to now. Turn number 1, 2, and 3. That's almost flat out borderline, if not flat out, especially for these cadet drivers. As we follow along with Ruben Greer, able to get himself up to 4th. Liam 4 as well, up to 3rd. But again, you look, just very, very fast corners. They come at you a lot quicker than you think. And this is where it's important, right? You need to be very precise and very smooth on that steering wheel when you come to this first left-hander, the first braking point on the racetrack, turn number 5. And you'll see a lot of moves being made through there as well. And then this section right here, this is one of the hardest corners on the track as well. You hear the tires start to screech. You hear those Vega Reds as they work their way into the cell tower hairpin and down. From what I've heard, especially at this track, the green corner is one of the most difficult on the track, and that's your second braking point here this weekend. Again, you open up, and you come back to the outside of the track to narrow in, and you got to be careful with how much of those rumble strips you do want to take. It can unsettle the kart as we follow along with Greer. This is another braking point here, that hairpin in the scoreboard section as they work their way through. And again, we have some more movers. Grant Heckman, the driver that we saw there on the grid, the 222, up to 2nd. Anderson Hemphill up to 3rd. Spencer Height to 4th. To 4 to Greer. So again, everything's changed. And Reagan Hodges, who was quickest at the end of that first group, she finds herself down in 10th. But we're about to have our first pole sitter here this weekend at the Grand National Championship. Right now, Howard just is in that spot where it's going to be difficult to be able to get across a 1:14.8. Majority of the drivers have a separation amongst the top 10 about 9/10 of a second. And talking with Xander, you will see that sometimes at the Grand Nationals, just with the difference levels there. But right now, Howard, at the very least, is showing great single car pace at the moment. Some of the others, like Grant Heckman, doing a solid job as well, being able to position their VLR kart to be in a good spot right now. So we'll have to see where things shape up for a couple of the years. Ruben Greer in particular was talking with them yesterday for the Nitro Camp. Was amongst the drivers that was looking to try and get adjusted, felt like they had a good kart, had some issues with their kart during the practice sessions. Seems he's gotten the Nitro machine tuned up and well to be able to be up there as well at the moment here as we come up to the checker flag.
Here we go. Hudson Howard going to be the first to get it. Checkers in the air. Hudson Howard in the 49 up and on the seat, looking to improve his time. Last time around, only a 1:14.651. Ruben Greer up to second. Liam 4 across the line now up to second. The number 4, as Dusty Strayer gets himself across the line now. The number 12, what has Dusty got? Not enough. Everybody else coming across, Tristan Francisco and more, but it looks safe as Spencer Height gets himself up to the top 5. Slade Harrow, another one to look for. Brewster, Stockwell, they don't improve. Slade Harrow only 5th. 2 more drivers across the line, about 4 more getting ready to cross. And I don't think anybody's going to have enough for the 49. Hometown kid on the pole position. Hudson Howard, the first driver on the pole here in qualifying for your Lawson Speed Shop cadet class. What a way to start off the weekend for the 49, starting off on the right foot here, Justin.
Perfect spot to begin things from the pole. Put yourself in a good spot for the grouping arrangements, absolutely too. It's going to be impressive, though, as well from Liam 4 amongst the drivers from New Jersey, able to power their way to the top. We've seen him in Wisconsin earlier on this year in terms of some of the competition in Route 66. Liam 4 going to be able to put a good fight up front, but also Nitro has a fair amount of drivers up in the top 12. 4 of their drivers qualify up towards the front of the field.
What a way to start off the weekend for Hudson Howard. And again, local to Indiana, local to Indianapolis, puts himself on the front row, on the inside for the first of our races later on in the day. Liam 4 getting ready to start alongside him. And again, we've seen Liam run over at Route 66, over at the Briggs & Stratton Motorplex. Ruben Greer, Grant Heckman, Slade Harrell, Dalton Sear, Spencer Height, Hemphill, Stoner, Austin Taylor, your top 10 as they get ready to hit the green flag later on today. The round 1 of heats coming your way at 12:45 local time. So about an hour and a half until we get there. But coming up next, Senior Medium gets ready to hit the racetrack, 100 plus. Get ready to qualify. It's all presented by Steel Motorsports. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break, but you're watching the 9th edition of the CKNA Grand Nationals.
You know, I'm really starting to like this go-karting thing.
Yeah, me too. Oh my gosh, can I show you this cute dress I just got?
Yes, of course. Oh my goodness, it's so cute.
I just love shopping.
I love shopping too.
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys say you like shopping?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, dude, I have the perfect place to do that at. ShopPayCara.com. At ShopPayCara.com, you can get free shipping on orders $200 or more. You can get anything you want, like MXC rims, gloves, rib vests, shoes, anything that you need, all at ShopPayCara.com.
Who is he talking to?
No idea.
But we're gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a great deal.
Sure does.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing meeting till like 2 a.m. last night.
Come on, man.
Do you have anything I can drink?
Dude, I got the perfect thing for you. Perico. It's a healthy energy drink alternative.
Perico, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, magnesium, B12, B6,
Yeah, it's good.
B5, biotin, and 0 sugar? Pericazo! Try Perico, made with natural ingredients, organic caffeine, and supports your metabolism. Try the new official energy drink of Kart Chaser.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Welcome back here to Spiceland, Indiana, just off of I-70. And again, that highway has named one of our corners here, the hairpin, just right under it. Sadly, we're not using that hairpin. We're using a cut through on the front stretch, but even then, it's going to keep the action at a high as your senior mediums presented by Steel Motorsports get ready to hit the racetrack. This group split into 3. The bottom third getting ready to go out. 106 drivers getting ready to take the green flag here in the qualifying session. This is the marquee class here at the CKNA Grand Nationals and Cup Karts North America. Really, if you go to Canada, anywhere that you go, the south, the north, the east, across all the series, you'll see this class be one of the biggest ones. And again, this paddock will be empty because everybody will flock to the fence lines, Justin, come Sunday to watch 106 of the best 206 drivers from all over the world, really, get ready to do battle. Right now they're going to qualify. Nicholas Kiefer and the Mach 1 machine going to be one of the first drivers out, as well as the Prodigy Motorsports Best Cards. Get ready to hit the racetrack. Number 15, Jet Perkins on his return to Cup Karts North America Grand National Racing action here this weekend. We've seen him earlier throughout the year. His dad, James, able to get a win in Legends earlier on in the year when we were over in Charlotte for the Spring Nationals at America's Home for Racing. But again, those first groups getting ready to hit the racetrack. And here we go, Justin. Again, it's one of the things that we were talking about just off the air, right? You can't walk an inch without bumping into somebody as soon as you get out of our tent here. Really, it's just jam-packed this weekend with, again, 553 entries, and a lot of those obviously doing triple duty, some double duty for the most part, across Masters, Legends, medium, heavy, light. But this is huge. Nobody has yet won the triple at the Grand Nationals. They're looking to do that here this year. The likes of Owen Lloyd, Christopher McKeithen, and more looking to get that done. But green flag in the air as we follow along the 77 low-key racing Sodi machine of Miller. As they get going, as one driver goes wide, that's the 200 Coyote machine. But we're working our way through here. Your senior mediums already with the first lap underway.
again, when it comes to this type of racing here, to say the very least, it's going to be the matter of, can you put yourself up the front? Just because it's so massive of a field, you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot. You have so many of the big names in general. You've touched upon some of them, for example. You have Alex Murray, who's raced in multiple different series, for example, have some personal connections there here in terms of the sim racing side, right, where he's actually my sim racing boss as well, funnily enough. You also have people like Hunter Bolton, who's got experience when it comes to kart chaser side. You've got so many different numbers just lined up in this first group alone. And remember, these are the drivers. They didn't get the best of times in the practice session, but we've seen people before in these bottom third or middle thirds be able to set the pole times in some of these national events. It's just, can you find that extra bit of speed to time up the perfect lap to be able to qualify the best possible time to jump up the front of the field? You don't want to end up being put in a cardboard box to start off the weekend, because the box is so hard to break out of when you put yourself at the bottom of the grouping rather than the top of the groupings.
That's correct, and I'm surprised to see some of the names in this group as well. You mentioned Alex Murray, right? Looking down, Huntington Bolton, the driver we've seen run inside of the top 10, inside of the top 20 throughout the years. The number 17, reigning Texas Sprint Racing Series champion. Bryce Frank is in this group as well. He's been a contender across the Grand Nationals as well through years. Last year, he was arguably one of the favorites to win, as somebody just had a spin in the scoreboard corner. It looks like they were able to get back going again. But again, this is pretty big. A couple of other names. Logan Stevens, he won a heat race last year in the heavy class. And again, even winning a heat race at the Grand Nationals, if you don't come away with the win at the end of the weekend, if you won a heat race here, that's a lot as well. That's an accomplishment you leave here with, a smile on your face when it's all said and done. But again, first couple of drivers already crossing the line. Mason Kuhn is up to second. Ryan Miller, the low-key racing Sodi kart that we follow along in that first opening lap, he puts himself fastest above the rest of the field. But Logan Stevens just improved on his Comet Eagle 53. Hometown, he has a lot of experience racing here at the club scene at Newcastle Motorsports Park, but he said, man, once a year, the show comes to me. They race at my home track, and even then, it's not easy, right? Because we don't run these tires at all throughout the year. There's a lot of nuances. This track reacts differently when you have 550-plus karts on the racetrack at the same, throughout a weekend, right? So it's different for everybody. As one driver, looks like one of the stealth machines for Steel Motorsports, has issues in the scoreboard hairpin, and I'm not sure if he's waiting for somebody. Again, you don't want to make it that obvious if you want to reposition yourself. As we follow along, we're getting close to the last lap. As you hear those karts start to bottom out as we get out of the last corner, turn number 18 on the track. Checkered flag getting ready to fly for a couple. Nicholas Kiefer going to be the first one to get it. The number 5, that's it for his qualifying session as everybody else rolls on through, and that's Mason Kuhn on the VLR, the 130, up to the top of the timing charts. But here comes Logan Stevens. We've seen him get himself to the top of the timing charts already this weekend for the 53, and 41 thousandths of a second are going to deny him. Jed Perkins coming across the line. I'm not sure if that's an issue or just slow, and I think that indeed is an issue for Jed Perkins, who is going to be out of this session early. He's going to put it to the side and into the grass. The 15 LSR Motorsports CRG for Camp Chaos going to be out of this qualifying session early. Unfortunate there for Perkins. Number 15, it looks like he wasn't even really able to set a lap, only 25th. And again, this is at bottom third, Justin.
Yeah, 1.2 seconds, just about off the pole time. It's going to be in a very bad spot where you're probably going to be in, I would say, roughly what would be D group, likely in terms of that positioning.
Yeah, it's nothing good.
Yeah,
for sure.
That puts you into a tough spot for the starting positions. That puts you in a tough spot in general for the start of the weekend. And now they're going to have to get to work to make sure it's ready for a heat race pretty soon, later on in the day for these drivers.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jed Perkins, that's going to end his qualifying early. He still has another shot at it later on in the day when he goes out on track for senior light, I believe, or senior heavy, one of the two that he is going to be taking a part of. are going to put them on the Gator now. But again, engines aren't fired down on grid. That second group, the middle third, for senior medium getting ready to go out. And every now and then you'll see some drivers that we're used to seeing across the national scene work their way and race with us here at CKNA. Austin Olds for the MPG Academy, getting ready to hit the racetrack. Chase Jones joining him here this weekend, as well as John Antonino, OKNJ champion at the Stars Championship Series, joins us here. There's Chase Jones and a couple of more as well. There's one of the AMAX racing machines with Adam Maxwell as well, going to be out there. Adriano Iannuzzi on the Coyote machine for Kenner Brown Racing, getting ready to lead this field out onto the track. And again, it's a huge contingent for a lot of drivers, right? A lot of different chassis here this weekend. A couple of the Wicked Racing GFCs making the drive out here, all the way up from the state of Washington. We joined them at the Burley Product Super Cup. I mean, we've been so many places this year across regional series. As Jack wrote, it's here to go out first. Here's Chase Jones and lead man for the MPG Academy and more. I mean, look at the variety, right, of drivers here this weekend. One of the coolest things to see, and chassis as well. Here's one of the Happy Kart machines by Mr. Hamilton. They've worked on the development along with Ryan Sporowski, as well a return on the seat here this weekend for Nicholas Terlecki. Again, we haven't seen him in 2025, but he makes a return here this weekend. Good to see himself and his dad with us at the racetrack, joining us, getting ready to have a good weekend here in Cup Karts North America racing action. Brady Atwood as well in the number 6 MGM Espionage, getting ready to hit the track. He's one of the drivers that we saw last year in the senior shootout after winning one of the regional series. This is one of the drivers that we saw last year do triple duty. Again, we'll take a look if Atwood is doing that again this year. Definitely one of the drivers to watch for the number 6. There's Jackson Young as well, rolling on through, a driver we saw last weekend in New Orleans. And again, on his first start on the national scene with a PPK Coyote machines. And here's Mr. Wicked Racing GFC himself, Kyle Wick, on the grid for what's set to be his first start in Grand Nationals racing action. And again, he said he's had a big learning curve as well, learning how to get going in a 206, right? Used to the shifter package. Has a lot of laps here at Newcastle Motorsports Park, but we'll see what Kyle Wick can deliver. And again, yesterday on the phone with the very own Gary Carlton, looking to dial in that GFC machine. Shane Reddy as well, getting ready to go out for the PPK Coyote team as well in this middle third. Keep an eye on Shane. We saw him a lot this year over at Route 66.
Yep.
And again, we were able to call one of the races at the championship weekend that we had there.
Yeah, it's a lot of talent in this field across the country. If you are in this field, you have likely contended for some sort of championship, whether it's CKNA competition or better yet, anywhere across the country at the national or regional levels. And for a lot of these drivers, it's the tough part of being able to adapt to the talent level in general, to be able to step up to this rank. And that's the major thing, is it's a daunting challenge when you have so many cars. You have them scattered everywhere across this facility. It looks like after the cleanup, well, these drivers finally getting the chance to fire their engines, get themselves revved up, and ready to qualify here for our middle group here. And remember, it's still possible to go for the pole from here. It's just a matter of going forward and putting up a good time in your respective pack here. Blackboard having a bit of issues there, getting rolling off the starting blocks, but everybody else seems to be able to get the slow roll onto the racetrack, and everybody keeping big distances here. No one really massively working together per se, like a freight train yet. Some of the Coyotes just trying to keep some space to start off this session here. And the Coyotes, by the way, you mentioned sizable numbers in terms of teams. They had somewhere like 30, 40 chassis they promoted on social media this weekend alone across multiple different teams.
Yeah, the Coyote social media page posted the amount of entries that they had here this weekend. And again, they were barely able to fit everybody in it, and that's a testament to the hard work that Jim Lapari what Coyote has done with Brandon Jarnskrak as well, the development of that chassis, John Segleman, everybody involved in that operation with three teams, more than that, right? A lot of drivers doing with the Privateer, 3 of the big ones. The PPK Coyote team, obviously the factory team for Coyote, if you will. Kenner Brown Racing, AJ Roderick Racing as well. You see AJ go out himself, Emily DeMaster as well in Senior Light. And then again, a good number of others as we work our way through. First couple laps, we follow along with the 171 of Jack Grote. But again, that split in qualifying, it's just a matter, right, Justin, if you want to take the gamble, if you want to split yourself up, or if you want to burn a lap, really. Because again, if you really spend most of the session going out there trying to position yourself, you're not going to have time to really put yourself in that rhythm that you do need to put a good lap around here, especially put warmth into those tires. And they fire off relatively quick, the Vega Reds. A very soft compound, and again, they're very easy to fire up. But just getting them in that perfect window is important. Usually lap 1, 2 or 3 is usually the fastest lap. You won't see the driver set that fastest lap on lap 4, really. So that's one thing to note, especially in this qualifying session. We'll keep an eye on it. And again, I would love to be proven wrong here this weekend, Justin.
Yeah, and from my understanding too, with the way these karts run here, Xander was talking to me a little bit about this last night, where in some cases drivers might only hit the brakes a couple times in the course.
Oh, correct.
So you're talking about basically you're on throttle, or just letting it coast the vast majority of the time here. So for many of these drivers, it's, can you maximize the speed here? And this tire seems to grip up very well to be able to give you some, or even with the softer compound, to get it to stick to the racetrack to carry those high speeds. We'll say the expectation is you'll see some of these fellow chassis mates work together, try and work as a unit to find some speed here. And what's that saying that everyone says? Teamwork makes the dream go up into the sky and become a new star. I try to put a change to that method this time.
There you go, Justin. As white flag hits the air, and again, another saying that is going to be critical here this weekend. It's going to be smooth is fast, right? Smooth is very fast, and you're seeing it here out of these drivers. Adam Brickley, the 88, gets himself up to the top. Kyle Wick, Braden Johnson, Shane Reddy, Jackson Young, and more. So these times on lap number 2 for these drivers already starting to improve. And again, one more lap. We saw the white flag out of Jason Burgess there that time around. So this is it for the second half of your senior mediums. And again, we've talked about the heavy hitters, right, that we're expecting to see improve. As there's Shane Reddy. And again, he finds himself a little bit ways down the order. He's in 5th, so I thought he was a little further than that. The 524 puts himself currently 5th. And again, you got to think, right, if you're making moves, you're obviously not maximizing time. If you're getting past, that's probably not too beneficial either. But we work our way around. Everybody's really had a chance to settle in. As there's Adam Brickley in the 88 on the Happy Kart machine. He's the driver that currently sits fastest overall. That's a 112.927 for Brickley. Young is right ahead of him. The 670 finds himself up to 7th, but checkered flag in the air. Yanuzzi, the first one to get it, to Grote. Neither of them improve. To Austin Olds, and this is where it changes. Jackson Young goes up to 3rd. Kyle Wick still in 2nd. Shane Reddy to 2nd. Brady Atwood, and it all changes. Scott Clayman across the line, able to improve in this second group. The 92 Coyote to the top of the timing charts, and again, we wait for everybody else to cross the line here as well. But that's a good lap, a 112.887 for Scott Clayman to top the timing charts here on Steel Motorsports Senior Medium. And again, we wait for that next group. And that includes the likes of 8-time CKNA Grand National Champion Colin Warren, Dylan Amundsen, as they get ready to qualify here this weekend. Here's your reigning Cup Karts North America Grand National Champion and the driver that finished 2nd across the line, Henry Wheeler for Steel Motorsports for Burrell Art. Getting ready to go out 2nd here in this qualifying session. And again, it all starts here The charge for the Grand National Championship starts in qualifying, positioning yourself in the best place possible in qualifying is what's critical. James Overbeck on his return here this weekend to CKNA racing action, ending the year off on a high across multiple national series. Justin.
And you know the funny thing, the cart actually got dropped off one of his carts yesterday by Grace Overbeck in her little sedan car, or was able to put the seats back down, bring the car up to make sure that cart was ready to go for today.
It's a Prius, I think.
Yes, a Prius. It was a tight squeeze.
Well, there you go. As the rest of our group goes out, John Treadwell on the Kubica machine as well, just pitted right with Steel Motorsports. Not too far away. Eli Fox for the Bradford Racing MGM team. Again, local to Newcastle Motorsports Park, looking to lead this field away. Cameron Reed as well right here. The driver out of Louisiana, the Racing Cajun. Your CKNA out-of-the-box challenge winner last year with an over-under move in the scoreboard hairpin. She was able to get it done. And again, last week when we were over in New Orleans, she finished third on the podium right behind Christopher McKeithen, who was also in this last group. Christopher Wakefield started off the year on a high, able to get the win over at America's Home for Racing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The rookie in his first year of senior racing action here at CKNA, impressed to say the least. But nobody in 2025 has been better in the South than South Georgia Karting Zone. Owen Lloyd swept the South, one in senior light, one in senior medium, and he won in senior heavy. We'll keep an eye on that red MGM machine to hit the racetrack on the Stealth chassis for Steel Motorsports. Ian Quinn, always one of the drivers to keep an eye on here when we come to Cup Karts North America. We'll keep an eye on the 79, as well as the rest of the field getting ready to go. Will Lawler there was the driver on our screens as Christopher McKeithen now joins the grid. The 2023 CKNA Grand National Champion puts himself ready to hit the track. Nick Zobiak gonna go out to his outside on the VLR machine. But this is it. This is where it starts. Eli Warren as well on the Stealth chassis for Steel Motorsports. Getting ready to lead this field out as well, just stuck in the middle of it all. But anybody's game, when you talk about this qualifying session, anybody is going to have a chance to go out there and put in a good lap time. Here's Kel Zimmerman on your screen now, getting ready to go out as well. We haven't seen Kale too much in the 206 side of things this year. He's been focused on the two-cycle stuff with Dad. But when you talk about CKNA, he was actually able to get a championship to his name. Lucas Theck as well, one of the drivers to keep an eye on. But again, speaking of Kale, he was in the booth with you as well. But he's in good spirits here this weekend, right? Having a good time back on the VLR this weekend on the 206 side of things. So Kale Zimmerman, to me, one of the drivers to keep an eye on here as well, Justin.
Yes, very smart driver when it comes to his racecraft. When speaking with him back in Wisconsin a few weeks back in regards to his abilities here. Some of the others, you have Rinkus Bill that's always very competitive out from Texas area.
Yeah, we saw him race last weekend. He went side by side across the finish line with Christopher McKeithen. McKeithen was just able to get the upper hand. Cameron Reed was in that race as well. She finished third. She was quicker than both of them actually, and she was running them down, just couldn't quite get there in the end. But again, a good number of drivers. Jerry Fandry and the Fandry Daniels Racing 77 hits the track, as well as John Antonino, buddy, OKNJ champ, getting ready to go out. As Kelvin Zing, Dylan Amundsen getting ready to go as Cameron Reed hits the track.
Right now, everyone just making sure their tires get warmed up and ready to go here. Keep in mind, it was a fairly cool start, by the way, to the day today here in Newcastle in terms of the weather conditions. when it comes to the weather coming into today, things were around the 50s or 60s for the start of the day. Right now they're more at 69, supposed to get as high as 77 degrees Fahrenheit for those wanting to keep track of what the weather conditions are going to be here today. So it is going to get to where drivers will have to make a bit of adjustments tire pressure wise to battle with the hotter conditions by the midday. But what can you say? Fall started a couple days ago. The leaves aren't turning orange yet, but the temperature sure is starting to go down compared to the summertime lows in the 80s.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, this morning was one of the colder days that we've had that I've felt so far in the year. We're still quite cold out here in the 67 degrees at the moment, so gets a jacket out, keep things early on, but follow along with this group: Eli Fox, Aiden Lorenko, Cameron Reed right in the middle of it all, the 609. Here we go, first couple of laps getting ready to come underway. This is the first lap under full song that they're all getting ready to set. Addison Iannello right there. She's one of our most recent pole sitters as well. I believe senior light when we were over at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Gets ready to go out. But here we go, first couple laps already underway. And again, this is that critical stage of qualifying as well, right? Put yourself in the best position possible to be successful. And you'll see drivers already start to make those changes, right? Reed going ahead of Lorenko. And then again, the driver right behind. And Eli Fox holding up a little bit, giving that little bit of space to set himself for a good lap. And then you have the exact opposite, right? With the likes of Colin Warren on the TS Racing VLR machine. Just out there on his own, doing his thing, knows he's fast alone. And he's going to do what he needs to do to put in that lap here early on. So first couple laps already underway. Owen Lloyd, the first one, he's up to 17. But everybody else finding that footing as now we have those changes. Eli Warren gets himself up to second. There you have it for the 97. So we're starting to see those times start to come in, start to pick up a little bit here, Justin. And again, we talked about those money laps. Lap 2, lap 3, those are the good ones.
Yeah, they're getting themselves paced together here. We'll say, talking about Warren and talking about the battles up front last year when it came to who was able to come away with the race wins in 2024. You have a lot to say when you have someone be able to come across the line like Colin Warren did, basically handshake to the checker flag. We'll see where things stack up this year with things, but right now I'm curious in the one thing. Where do these times now stack up? They are, from practice earlier, having the chance to go up by 3/10. No major changes yet on the board, in fact, by a majority of the field, although a lot of drivers are still a fair ways back. Kel Zimmerman's 112.7 still standing for now.
Yeah, this is huge. Colin Warren, actually, he's way down the order right now. He's down in 37th, and I think even further than that is Kel Zimmerman. It shows he's the fastest. Eli Warren's up there as well with a 97. Currently on the provisional pole position is Zimmerman. The 505 is in second. Wakefield, a 27 in third. To McKeithen, to Mitchell Morrow. The 383. To Will Lawler, McCarthy, Zobiak, Clayman, Eli Fox. As Reagan Seville up to second. The 00. And again, everybody gets the white flag this time by. It's anybody's game. Seville's way down the order, way a little bit ways off our screens here, but again, everybody just super close in this qualifying session. Is now Zimmerman going to draft up with Zerves. But this is as tight-knit as it gets. Colin Warren across the line. And again, he was out there on his own, not even inside of the top 10 for Colin Warren. James Overbeck to the pole position provisionally. And again, we have to wait for the rest of the group. Here comes Lorenko, Fox, Reed. They're shaking their heads across the line. No improvements. Iannello doesn't improve. Owen Lloyd, the champion in the regional side on the south, he's not inside of the top 10 even. McKeithen gets himself up to 4th only. Here comes Chambers and more across the line. James Overbeck holding on. Here comes Zimmerman across the line. Kel Zimmerman. Does he have anything left in it? He doesn't. Vandry, Antonino, Seville and company coming across the line now. We'll see if anybody improves. There goes Zing making a move. But nobody improves. Zing doesn't improve. Brickley, Klein, James Overbeck in Steel Motorsports Senior Medium. on the pole position, the 48. Getting ready to start on the inside alongside Eli Warren when we get to racing action. What a drive for James Overbeck in that qualifying session. Right place, right time, right strategy. The PPK Coyote on the pole. That's your RLV Fast Lap qualifier in senior medium. Quick commercial break from our side. We'll be right back with the youngest class, the Kit Karts, getting ready to hit the racetrack.
Wins the Wisconsin Grand Prix. James Overbeck on start number 2 gets win number 1 in OKN Stars.
On track or off, Brandon Jarsekrak Racing delivers elite performance. Led by 4-time Pro National Champion Brandon Jarsekrak, our team masters driver coaching, data-driven analysis, and mechanical precision at every national event. Contact us today at BrandonJarsekrakRacing.com.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. Long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I want to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Florida Kart Racers, you asked for it and we're going to bring it. Introducing Florida Karting Championship, FLKC, a brand new racing series coming to Florida in 2026.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today.
Welcome back to the 9th edition of the CKNA Grand Nationals as our youngest of drivers get set to hit the racetrack, as a little bit of a congestion here with our kid kart drivers. And again, they are running a different layout to what other people usually run here this weekend. So they're letting them roll out here. And again, it's the important part of as well, splitting them up, let everybody find that footing on the racetrack. So they're finding that now. They're just not going to run that back section. So when you come to what is turn number 2, turn number 3 going to get cut short, and you can get sent back into the scoreboard hairpin. But we have a good number of drivers here this weekend. There's a 93 LGK machine of Matteo Romeo. He's going to be the first driver. He was quickest in the happy hour session as the green flag flies. And we're going to get going here for the youngest of our drivers. Matteo Romero here with us. Mason Poole, Vettel Baker, Arya Denahauer, Maverick Reddick in the 75, and a couple of more with us here as well. I believe we are up in the 20s for this kid kart class. And again, this is one of the biggest kid kart fields that you will see across the nation. As we get going here, Justin, first couple of laps for our kid kart drivers underway. Green flag.
Romeo, amongst the drivers that did very well in Canada, actually, very recently in Kart Stars competition, was one of the drivers that led the way, was a part of the drivers in amongst those with speed. Arya Denahauer was in position with speed as well. It was a bit of a wild run in kid kart competition back in Canada, though, over in that race, to say the very least. So remember, there's the potential of traffic when it comes to the race themselves, with the difference you'll see in speeds here picked up here. So for a lot of these drivers, it's just about trying to have fun, being able to learn and develop as drivers, and then see where you rank up. Very curious where some of the drivers we've seen across the country do well, though, like Maverick Reddick, of course, see him do well in the Texas Sprint Racing Series as well. That Texan up in second, just a 10th and a half off the pole with the 93.
Yeah, there you go for the 75 as well. The most winningest driver in Texas competition this year at TSRS has been the 22 of Vettel Baker for MSL Racing, and CRG finds himself in 4th. And Vettel's had a pretty good year. He leads the championship over in the state of Texas over Maverick Reddick, who as well went for a wild ride last weekend fighting for the lead. Went up and over, and again, whenever the medics got to him and they asked him right now how he was doing, the first thing he said was, wow, it's looking tough for me in the championship now, isn't it? And again, it shows you the competitive edge of these kids, especially at such a young age. But first couple of laps underway, laps actually concluded now with the checkered flag in the air. Romeo, the first one to get the checkered. His last lap doesn't go any better, as here comes the rest of the field. There's Mason Poole, as well as Arya Denahauer, Maverick Reddick, looking to get himself a little bit better. On his last lap, Reddick doesn't improve. Looks like Baker wasn't able to improve either. He's actually coming across the line now. JJ DeShong back there as well, setting in their laps. Aubrey Babcock currently 12th. There's Nieves now crossing the line, only 5th, as the rest of the field coming across. And that's it. The 221 now crosses, and that's Wyatt Barrelsman, who doesn't go any better. But as it stands, that's Matteo Romeo on the provisional pole position. Unofficial results here in qualifying to Arya Denahauer, Maverick Reddick, and more as they cross. Here's JJ DeShong, 11th, Mason Poole, Aubrey. And it shows that there's still a couple of more drivers. There was 25 entered here this weekend. So I'm not sure if they opted to split them up to give them a little bit more track position, with the top half going first and that second half. We'll keep an eye on it here. And indeed, it looks like that is exactly what occurred. So that second group getting ready to come out to the track here now. Justin, led by the number 6.
Yeah, that would be Kari who's coming on out to lead things out to part of this pack. You also have drivers like Sonny, you have Jude Boss, Brianna Sepker in this grouping. Cruz Dittmer is also a part of this pack. Grayson Miller. Just some of the various names that are going to be coming up here. And I understand why they would do this, to make sure they don't have too much overlap, because they're trying to give each kart at least 10, 15 kart lanes to work with.
Correct.
Have their own pocket. It's hard to do that with the amount of karts we have, because you eventually run out of space, because you're racing basically.
Correct. Not only that, but it's also a smaller track, right?
Yeah.
Again, they've cut almost half of it. So for these young drivers, right, to keep them kind of, within all on the same page, really, is giving them enough room, enough time to go out there and really be able to set a lap. And again, for these kid kart drivers, we talk about the competitiveness all the time, but this is really a learning experience, right? Being a part of a big event like the Grand Nationals is something huge for these young kids, but even then, can't lose the main focus, which is really to come out here and have a good time, to enjoy it, right? To enjoy being out here. And as well, learning to me is prime factor, especially for the young kid kart drivers, and taking that through the ranks as well. Being a part of an event like this, driving against, nobody really drives against this many kit karts across the nation, right? We have obviously double duty over in the state of Texas. Route 66 doesn't have the kit kart class available, so you see in, local events. You obviously have it here at CKNA, at regional events, and at the national. But 25 kit kart drivers at the Grand Nationals every year. This is great to see, right? This many drivers out here having a good time and just ready to drive, right? Ready to drive out here and be competitive with each other, which is the coolest thing. But at the end of the day, learning and having fun, two most important points of the weekend.
I mean, your top two qualifiers so far on the board were actually part of that Kart Stars event, where they wanted, as part of that charity night race for the Uxbridge Hospital, to bring in as many kit karts as possible. They brought in around 40.
Wow.
It was, by lap 3 or 4, lap traffic played a huge factor then in that type of race, because it was so much congestion that popped up. You had to pick the right line. Caused actually a couple different pockets with the leaders where they had a hard time in terms of that. But it just shows you have to be aware as well in this level when you have this many drivers here in this field, Caleb, because this field is just so packed with drivers, and this track is going to be so packed with competitors looking all fighting for the same real estate.
Yeah, there you go, and everybody's fighting for the pole position right now. White flag in the air, and I think they might get one more for this group, at least on your screen. The first one to get it is going to be the number 6 there of Kyrie Dozit. And again, the driver only up to 14th, Tony Beam up to 11th. But with a checkered in the air, looks like everybody closing out this session here, and that should keep the 93 safe at the top of the timing charts. Mateo Romeo on the pole position at the end of Kid Kart Qualifying. There's a last look at your unofficial results. In qualifying, Mateo Romeo going to lead that kid kart field to green, running alongside Arya Denahauer to Maverick Reddick and Vettel Baker on that second row. But your Masters field gets ready to roll out. Again, they're split into two. The bottom half and the top half, they're led to the field by Ryan Sporowski on the Happy Kart, as the rest of the field gets ready to go. But again, you talk about some of the best racing that we get to see at CKNA. The Masters, the Legends, always one of the ones to watch. And as well, we'll see the Legends later on today there in the afternoon group. We're able to sleep in a little bit For the Masters, not so much. Here today is Ryan Sporowski gonna be the first one out onto the racetrack, and I actually had a good conversation with Ryan. They were chasing the setup a little bit, but didn't make too many adjustments. And again, he's been a big help to the development of that Happy Kart machine with Mr. Hamilton as well. And they've talked a lot about waiting for the grip to really come down. And again, this weekend's been different, right? When you come to the Grand Nationals, the grip gets laid down almost instantly, right away, where you're chasing it from the Thursday. But he said we've just waited for it, right? It's been cooler temperatures for us in the morning, and we know we're going to be fast whenever that grip does come in, and we're going to be able to be better than the rest. So we'll see if that plays out here for Ryan Sporowski in the 16. The first of the Happy Kart machines out there on the track. Dudu de Moraes as well with him in this group. And again, you look at a couple of more. Cirillo's out there on the track as well in the 23. But again, a good number of drivers. JD Gunn, Tim Shutt. Looks like they're all out on the track for this first session. But this class, super competitive when you talk about Masters racing. So first couple of laps getting ready to go underway here, Justin. We'll see if Sporowski timed it perfectly when you talk about kart setup, when you talk about everything as well. With those Happy Karts, their second showing in Grand Nationals racing action.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of them on the grid earlier on, and hey, what can you say? They're happy drivers. The kart smiles at you after all. But in some of the practice sessions, they've looked pretty solid as an organization, as a grouping and a team together. So it's just going to be, can they carry that as a unit into the respective races today? The first time's coming on in the 115s. It's going to be James Brancati.
Brancati there, yeah, correct.
Yeah, in terms of the top of the board, though, for the time being. So not the happiest of starts, indeed, for the 16.
Yeah, they'll get there for sure for Ryan Sporowski and company. Jeff Scott able to get himself in the 73 up to first. Carlos Moraes up to sixth to Jason Rowe. JD Gunn. Brad Davis now gets himself up to second. But again, a lot of these drivers doing double duty here this weekend. So this is one of the things to note, right, where they have been able to learn a little bit from either the Legends class, apply it here to the Masters, or vice versa, right? Learn from Masters, apply it to the Legends field. So we'll see how it all plays out. Joe DeBover out there as well. He's currently up to 9th on the LSR Motorsports CRG. Kevin McCarthy to 7. Jason Rowe, Gunn, Brancati, Davis, Movingazzi, Jeff Scott currently fastest in the 73 here, Justin. So again, time's starting to just pick up a little bit. And we talked about this lap right here is really going to be where you see those big improvements. Here comes the white flag, though. You need to find them now if you do want to go faster. And there we have those changes. James Brancati in the 121 Happy Kart up on the provisional pole. And again, we're waiting for that second group. JD Gunn now going to take over that spot. To Brancati, to Scott, to Shutt, Gotzi, Davis, May, Rowe, McCarthy, and Sporowski. That's your top 10 in the second group, as now Sporowski demoted down to 12 as everybody else finding a little bit more. Tim Shutt as now the 181 of Davis on the MGM Espionage gets himself onto the provisional pole, 114.740. That's a big improvement there.
Yeah, huge improvements going on for some of these drivers right now, especially what we've seen from the Olympics driver Brad Davis in the MGM. MGM and are one of those groups that have a lot of drivers and a lot of karts in the field for this weekend. It's going to be strength in numbers for them across multiple different divisions. You'd have to think if they're able to keep things going at the top of the board for the other group by the end. But coming up to the checker flag right now, some of these drivers, keeping an eye and seeing how much the draft is going to help some of these drivers lined up. Some of the Burrell Arts helping this gold machine around the racetrack. See where the times fall, where things get leveled up here at the end of the session. Looks like the 2 machine able to jump to 11th. Scott jumps up to 3rd as the rest of the field crosses.
Here we go, checkered flag in the air. Davis in the 181 has been able to have that upper hand on the rest of the field as he crosses the line now for Davis. It looked like he wasn't able to go any better on his last time around. The 114.740 going to stick for the 181. As here come the rest of the LSR Motorsports CRGs. Nobody really able to make too much impression. Gunn in the 14th, he was the fastest of them all. A 114.8. When he crossed the line, he's in second to Scott, to Brancati, to Rowe, to Tim Schutt, Gotzi, Cirillo, Moraes, and McCarthy. That's your top 10 in the bottom half of LSR CRG Motorsports Masters.
Yeah, good start to the session, to say the least, right now, because it's been good times being put down in the 114th. It's just going to be, can we see that increase, expecting at least some increase for a majority of the drivers once we get the switch over for these Masters. For comparison, for the top time in the last session, some of the drivers at the top of the group for the Masters went as high as the 113.6s. So you know the gauntlet is still yet to be laid down by this next wave of drivers coming on the racetrack.
Here we go. Josh Smoker on the Happy Kart, one of the drivers that is going to hit the racetrack here. The all-new Swift chassis making his debut here this weekend at the CKNA Grand Nationals. And again, this is the coolest part about an event like this, right? Where you can come out, as long as you are able to bend tubes the right way. If you make it in your backyard, you weld it together, you're able to come out here and run it. And most of the time, you see drivers like that go fast, right? That's how the Coyote company started. That's how the MGM started with Paul and April Rice. They're actually still building them, I believe, in the shop in their backyard. And then again, you have those, obviously, those big factory teams like your OTKs, like your Burrells. But again, you have your Happy Karts that are made, they were made 2 years ago, or a year ago, really, to the date where they debuted it. But again, you're chasing down some of the teams that have done it for quite some time, like the Coyotes. And Sean Meyer, a driver who's been very successful in Masters racing action, especially in his first couple times. And again, he was fast as well in medium on one of our first times going out to CKNA. You look at the Spring Nationals over in Charlotte, whenever they were doing the video series, Trevor and Xander. Sean Mayer was able to win that senior medium main event against the likes of Paulie Massimino, now Pro X30 race winner, champion to his own respect, national champion over KA, over OKN, if you will. And again, Mayer was there contending, and he's going to be a contender here this weekend in the Masters division. Mark Steele on the Stealth machine. Had a great conversation with Mark yesterday, and he said to, F1 drivers get their own chassis line, not just the guy who goes go-kart racing. And the fact that Burrell did this for me, it's been very surreal. So he sold a good number of Stealth machines so far throughout the year, and he's been happy about it. I'm sure he's going to be happy about this showing so far. Mark Steele up to second. Ryan Cassidy to fourth, to Fagan, to Carroll, to Jamie Bradford as well. Lead man for Bradford Racing, the 622. And again, the names continue to file in. Scott Falcone on his first CKNA start. Lassard and more. The list goes on, and it's anybody's game really here in Masters on who's going to take the pole.
Especially since you have Steele, of course, 2024 winner in this event. 27 1/1000 of a second was the difference in Masters in the grand final last year. And the driver he raced against in Bradford, up there too. It's going back and forth amongst that warning order as they continue to shuffle here in this field.
Here we go. Mark Steele making the move on Sean Mayer. As Mayer pulled to the wayside, wanted to get a little bit of draft here on one of his final laps. White flag. I'm going to hit the air this time by for Steele and for Mayer. Steele currently sits in second. Chris Carroll, former Grand National champion, the number 12, sits in third. As we hit the line this time by, white flag in the air. Mark Steele, he had to make a move. Wasn't able to improve all too much. As Chris Carroll now on the Coyote, the number 12, up to the provisional pole with 1 lap to go. Jamie Bradford a second to Steele. Dakota Lotta. Ryan Cassidy looking to go 4 years in a row at the CKNA Grand Nationals. Has won 3 years in a row in the Legends class. looking to get one here in Masters. He's going to be competitive in Legends as well. We'll keep an eye on Ryan Cassidy as he continues to go through. And again, he's been with the Coyote chassis since the 90s here, Justin. Been loyal to the brand. And speaking of a couple of his competitors, nobody has won more in karting than the 53 in 4-cycle racing. We'll keep an eye as he tries to get a pole position here in the Masters class. But Mark Seal the first to get the checkered flag, and it's going to be close. Eric Fagan right behind him as well in the number 1 OTK machine. Jeff Dolian to Stahl to Falcone to Lassard. But again, it all comes down to this. Chris Carroll, the number 12, still on pole as Jason Burgess calls him to the checkered flag. Mark Steele goes up to the top. Jamie Bradford, the 622 with improvement. Fagan to Chris Carroll across the line for Coyote. A 113.597 on the provisional pole. Bradford had it for a second, and in a blink of an eye, Chris Carroll in the number 12 goes quicker than the rest. We look on to the last couple of drivers. Jeff Dolian crosses now up to third for Dolian. That was a huge improvement out of the PPK Coyote. But that's only third. Chris Carroll, the number 12, on pole. And LSR CRG Motorsports Masters. There you have it. What a drive out of Chris Carroll.
Good qualifying effort, absolutely. Putting up the pole time by more than 1/10 of a second, in fact, in his Coyote. And he was in a good pocket in the first place to be able to get some straight line speed built up. The Coyotes able to get a lot of straight line pole for the respective karts. We see that come into play right here to be able to help them set the pole time. 3 Coyotes amongst your top 10, for example. Steel Machines amongst those 7th and 9th. 2 of those entries there. Precision Performance Karting, 2 of the top 10 also amongst some of the strength in numbers we see when it comes to some of these organizations and being able to line up the respective teams up towards the front, potentially to battle things out of the Master.
Yeah, what a drive there, and you look down at the rest of the field, and again, that was that second group. A couple of drivers in that first group couldn't make too much headway. Rod Clenard, one of those, he only went 25th. Tim Shutt, a driver we'll see run up at the front in the Legends division. He's down there in the order. Ryan Sporowski as well. That's surprising. Joe DeBover, Chris Osgood, Eric King, Eli Yanko, only 42nd. But again, here goes our last class, the Sportsman division, with Danny O'Gara. This is the bottom half, getting ready to hit the racetrack.
Drivers getting their final preparations ready to go for today. Remember, it was 1:14 flat set by the fastest times in Happy Hour, where Daniel Dragunov set the fastest time over Chase Dixon. The Magic Kart fell back by a 1/10.5 in the very end of the warm-up session and / Happy Hour. Well, fight container. Dominic Gaddis going to be up there. Drew Blem also among some of the contenders for this weekend. As you see the drivers make their way onto the racetrack again, 2 groups in this session are ready to take part here. 38 karts are on track. O'Gara, again, one of the first to get a chance to launch. They were 19th quickest in Happy Hour practice. So we see where things stack up with Sportsman drivers. Again, these drivers in Sportsman, see them around the racetrack, ages 10 to 13 in this series. And when it comes to these drivers, it's an opportunity for many of these drivers to get in on the podium spots, be able to perform well. We've seen some very competitive races from them in the respective class, and from many of these drivers across the country here all throughout the season. Dragunov trying to defend the championship, but also you have some of the drivers that look to surprise a little bit here. Try and jump up the respective packs. Ryder Thompson, Hendrick McKay, Lincoln Coster. You have Kyle Cameron in this group. And Willie amongst those in this pack. Logan McCloskey amongst this in the pack. Also on the racetrack. many others ready to see where things stack up here.
Yeah, here we go for Top Kart USA. Danny O'Gara, the driver that led them out to the field. Thompson's right behind him, and McKay, DeCoster, Cameron, Willie, and more. We're going to follow along with a 67. Not the best of showings for Danny. We've seen him run up at the front here at CKNA, especially at the Grand Nationals local to Indiana. And the whole family out here this weekend, as well as Mom Sarah, his dad as well working, Andy with CKNA. And again, this series as well has made huge strides to improve the entire race direction process. They've added a new camera system as well. They're helping that. That's a new addition here this year. They tested it out over at the Summer Nationals when we were at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, and they've applied that here this weekend to the penalty system, to the stewards, again with Race Select, the penalty point system that is still in effect here this weekend. So it's been, again, things to look out for here this weekend, making sure you're keeping your nose clean. That being said, Henry McKay, when you look at the times, the 71, able to go quick on the Nitro Kart machine. A 1:14.995 to Danny O'Gara, who's in second, to Mikey Todd out of Louisiana with Reed Motorsports up to third. Ryder Thompson, Logan McCloskey, Irwin Bell, Pollock, Burklow, and Dean Sanders. That's your top 10 as they stand right now. And this is your sportsman class presented by Prodigy Motorsports. They are the last group before we hit the heat races here in a little bit. But again, this is only the bottom half, and we wait. The afternoon groups will be out there on the track after the lunch break, and they will hit the track at 3:20 when it all starts with your junior drivers. But here we go. White flag in the air out of Jason Burgess. O'Gara, second time around. Improves, but it's not enough. 3:10s, Henrik McKay. Able to go that little bit quicker on lap number 2. How about Keegan Irwin, the 192 up to second. That's a good improvement with a 115. As it all changes, Logan McCloskey, the 20, on the provisional pole position with Steel Motorsports.
Again, looking solid, those Steel Motorsports machines across all the various classes here this weekend. It's going to be, how will these times fare out compared to the first group? Right now, it's 7/10 of a difference compared to the top of the order in happy hour earlier on. That was in cooler conditions than what we have now. Keep in mind just a little bit. But up front, O'Gara hasn't had any draft to work with, and we've seen the major impact here for some of these drivers who don't get any draft to help them. It's a massive difference. 6/10 up, he's up in fourth, but that's a massive cushion in any case when you're that far back on an interval.
Yeah, that's huge. So here we go. We'll see if O'Gara can improve any with a checkered flag in the air. And again, he doesn't have draft out there on his own. For Danny O'Gara, across the line, not going to be much. A 1:15.063 for O'Gara. Irwin to 4. Thompson. As here comes the rest of the field. Willie up to 7th for AMAX Racing. Here come a couple of the Burrell Arts. Not much improvement here. Here comes Mikey Todd in the 299 for Reed Motorsports. Across the line, checkered flag for Mikey. No improvement out of him either. Here comes that second group. One of the gold carts back there, making moves across the line. Gibbons, no improvement. As here comes the rest of the group. Firestein, that little bit better in the 180, a 117.104, but McCloskey holds on to the provisional pole position here in Sportsman. Again, we're waiting for that second half of your Sportsman to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments.
So our second part of the qualifying grouping for Sportsmen is underway. Prodigy Motorsports, again, the presenting partner for this class. And we'll now see who's able to jump up ahead of the 114.494 by Logan McCloskey in the session. Currently following along with the 161 machine around the racetrack. 151, should say. Daniel Dragunov setting the top tempo all year long, and last year's champion when it comes to Grand National competition. He's able to come away with the victory in 2024 and has been extremely competitive all across the country in 2025. We're back underway for qualifying. 3 laps, remember, up on the board for our competitors here today. And now it's going to be, where will these drivers finish out this session? Where will things stack up with the runs? Dragunov not going to have any draft. Finished second in the springtime, for reference. In the summertime, Dragunov ended up finishing also in second, battling Thigpen at the time. See what happens them here in this race later on today, especially. They keep on getting themselves zoomed around, looking to see where the tires first stack up in this pack. Also amongst those in this grouping of drivers include Ublem, Gaddis, Feinsteiner, Thixton amongst some of the quick drivers earlier on. Our Labar is in this grouping. You also have Thigpen, we referred to earlier, who got the win back in the summertime.
At MCC on July 4th weekend, Lainey Thigpen got her first win on the national scene. Her first time out. Aston Wyatt, that's our most recent race winner in 206 cadet racing action on our platform, was able to win last weekend over at New Orleans. But here this weekend for the MPG Academy, Dominic Gaddis in the 714, currently quickest overall. Will Feistinger second to McCloskey, to Hayden Lawson, Brown as well, RJ Brown that is, to Lainey Thigpen now your top 5. But it's getting close here. And we're only 3 laps. We've already completed 1, so they will get the white flag this next time around, Justin.
Yeah, right now they've already set the times that I thought I was going to see for some of the top drivers to bump up their speed on the first lap already by a few tenths. Kind of showcases what they're able to do once you get them in that optimal window for these Reds, and to be able to build that temperature to make sure you don't pass that optimal window by pushing too hard to be able to warm them up. But right now these MPGs you're seeing on screen doing a good job, even with the separation between them a little bit here, have done well to kind of coordinate their lines a little bit, make sure they've hit their marks, make sure they take what they've learned from film, as you see how much the draft factors in up on the back of Dragunov, who is still at the back end of the top 10.
And here we go, Feistinger up to the top, the 210. An improvement to Gaddis, to Chase Thixton, Jerome Wickham to 4th, Aston Wyatt, McCloskey, Brown with a good lap, the number 7 up to 4th, Tanner Barsh in 8th, Lainey Thigpen gets herself to 7th, but again, white flag in the air, and we have absolutely no idea of who's going to take the pole. It's Brody McDonald out of nowhere. The 68 to 2nd. That's a monster lap on lap number 2. He still has 1 more, so there's no call in this qualifying session any bit early. The Prodigy Motorsports Sportsman class keeping us on the edge of our seats. Feistinger still holds on in the 210 with the provisional pole as everybody looks to deny him. Aston Wyatt there on your screen, and more getting ready to cross the line. And again, this is it, checkered flag, getting ready to fly. Hayden Lawson as well down in the 11th spot to Blem, Abalera, Dragunov, McKay. Here we go, checkered flag in the air, this time by out of Burgess, black and checkered. So that could be a review at the end of it all. Aston Wyatt, first one across, only 7th. Here comes Blem across the line, and that's an improvement. Jerome Wickham up to 2nd. Here come more. Hayden Lawson and company. Brown as well up to 4th. Feistinger still holds on. Thigpen crosses now, only 7th for Lainey. As the rest of the field, Kaya Abalera and more. We're still waiting for McDonald. The 68 had a good lap on the last time around. He doesn't improve either. So I think it's safe to say it. Wolf Feistinger on the pole position in Sportsman, presented by Prodigy Motorsports. And to his outside, Jerome Wickham in the 212 with Brody McDonough and RJ Brown on row number 2. But Feistinger on home soil, the 210, puts himself on the pole position. That's it for qualifying. When we return, it's time for heat racing action to start the weekend off at the 9th edition of the CKNA Grand Nationals. If you want to watch the racing action, don't forget, become a KC Premium member today. It's just cheaper than everything. I'm sure you guys have all seen the commercials. Just cheaper, only $9.99 a month. You can go to our profile. We'll show you how to become a premium member. Just hit the join button and make sure you do it on an Android or a desktop device. Don't do it on an iOS or an Apple device. It'll tack on an extra $3 that we do not see. But again, we're excited to see you guys. We're going behind the paywall here in a couple of moments. But Newcastle Motorsports Park, you talk about the history, and it's time to go racing. Qualifying is done for the morning groups. My name is Caleb Vieska, Justin Prince. It's been a pleasure to bring you guys the morning coverage. It's time to go racing from a packed house at Newcastle Motorsports Park. We'll be right back with some more racing action.
Florida kart racers, you asked for it, and we're going to bring it. Introducing Florida Karting Championship, FLPC, a brand new racing series coming to Florida in 2026.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney. Turney in the dirt.
Hey, what's up, Caleb?
What's up, Brandon?
You sound defeated. A long day at the office?
Yeah, got stuck at a cat food marketing meeting for like 3 hours. I don't know a thing about cat food, and I don't even work in marketing. And then I got sent on a coffee run like I was some sort of intern. Then at the end of the day, when I went to go get gas, I just realized everything is so darn expensive nowadays, man.
Yeah, you got that right.
Like, do you have any idea how much we're spending on Netflix?
That's like $20 a month.
Do you know how much we're spending on cable?
That's like $50 a month.
But you know what isn't expensive?
Tell me.
Kart Chaser Premium. For only $9.99 a month, you can watch all the American karting action live from coast to coast. Subscribe and become a member today.
Cat food marketing. $9.99 a month.
Dude, Caleb, wake up. Dude, we're live in 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm so sorry. Xander had me in a cat food marketing